Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Harihi
Om Gananantetyartyasya shaunako gritsamadarshih Ganapatir-devata Jagati Chandaha Gananantva Ganapatim Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamasravastamam Jyeshthārajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashrinvannotibhis Sedasadanam Gananantva Ganapatim Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamasravastamam Jyeshthārajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashrinvannotibhis Sedasadanam Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha.
Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha. Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha. Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha. Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha. Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha. Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha. Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha. Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha. Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha. Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha. Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha. Om Shri Hrim Klim Glom Ganapataye Varavarata Sarvajanaye Vashmane Swaha Swaha.
Today is 27th of January 2015. I am answering a series of questions by my good friend Sunil Panotil regarding Ganapati. Or when we consider our describing Ganapati, not all the epithets today we are seeing are in the Veda. Many of them, in some sense, were, shall we say, people knew by their insight, and they complement each other. Therefore, but the Western Indologists, they wanted to minimize, shall we say, reduce the Hindus' idea of identity. Therefore, they went on saying the modern Hinduism has no connection to the Vedic religion, etc., etc., etc. All of it is basically comes from the fact that they either were incapable of understanding the deeper issues, or they deliberately wanted to do it. Therefore, first thing I want to say is there is a continuous direction from the Veda to the modern times. So we have to understand what Hinduism says. Our Hinduism says the world is continuously changing. At that point, people always forget it in some sense. We accept change. Therefore, we respond to changes. We initiate changes, respond to changes. We are not the people, only so-called earlier religions or bases. No, we are changing. We have a positive attitude towards change. And second point I have to mention is in the Veda, we have so many gods, Devaha. We should not think them as human beings. There is complete harmony among them. If I make a prayer to Agni, Indra or Ganapati will not be offended. So in some sense all of them have properties. It is not like a hard separating line. When I say Agni is the lord of the willpower, it doesn't mean Indra has no power of the will, or Ganapati has no power of the will. So, say, how can you say the same property, power is associated with both of them? It's perfectly valid. It's true in the science every day. How do you separate magnetism or electricity or gravitation? They are all interconnected. Therefore, the idea we should have in mind, because we have a epithet in a mantra dedicated to Indra, it doesn't mean it should not be used for Ganapati or vice versa, because all of them act homogeneously. Third point I have to mention here is the number of mantras to a deity. The counting the mantras is not an indication of his great powers or vice versa. Here, Vedas, you have to remember, are all of verses of wisdom. But it was in those days all memorized. They are not textbooks of the modern type where they go on describe in detail. They only give a hint to the powers. Therefore, in the Veda itself, the three words come. Brahma comes, Brihaspati comes, Brahmanaspati comes, Ganapati also comes. How do you fix the meaning of the mantra? In the Veda, Rig Veda itself, there are roughly 40,000 distinct words, excluding connective words like cha, and which means and that sort of thing. Therefore, if I want to understand what is Brahma, what should I do? I should read all the mantras where Brahma occurs and see what is the point they are making in all of those mantras. Therefore, Brahma basically means the mantra or the sound pattern of a great power, which in some sense is the source of all creative activities. For we say, Vageva Vishwa Bhuvanani Jajne. The word W-O-R-L-D came out of the walk or the speech. So this is the Brahma. Therefore, obviously, you can't separate he in some sense. So he is also connected with the soul power, Atman, which controls everything. But Brahma of the mantra is not the Brahman of the Upanishad. Why? First of all, Upanishads came another 1,000 or 2,000 years later, and they had a different way of looking at it. Then we have the deity called as Brihaspati. Pati means Lord. Brihas means Brih means vast. For example, we speak of the earth as characterized by Satyam, Ritam, Brihat. There is the Lord of the vast. In some sense, Brihaspati, you can say, corresponds to in some sense, the later Brahman, the idea of Lord of the souls. Therefore, the two, one is connected with the sound in some sense, other with the soul. Therefore, the attempt was made in some sense to understand a deity known as a Brahmanaspati, who contains both the idea of the soul power and the creativity of the sound. So people may say, so always our rishis, as I told you, each rishi, 400 rishis makes a point, another rishi extends the idea, and therefore that's how the Brahmanaspati became. And later they also had the word, for example, Ganapati also was there. Gana in the Veda means only a group, any group. It can be a group of mantras, it could be a group of deities. For example, I told you about Maruts. We always speak of them as a group, Marut Gana. Similarly, we speak of the demons as the Rakshasa Gana. That is the idea. Therefore, we also have Mantra Gana also. Therefore, that is also possible. So, Ganapati means one who is the Lord of the group of mantras. That is this idea of Ganapati came. And later, of course, people saw the correspondence between the two things. Therefore, they identified Ganapati with Brahmanaspati. Therefore, that is in this famous mantra we often recite nowadays. It is in the second mandala, 23rd sukta. It is due to the Rishi Gilsamada, Gana Nam Tva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upama Shavastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmana Brahmanaspatim Ana Srinvantu Utipihi Sida Sadhanam. Now, as you know, the mantra has 4 quarters. The first quarters we mentioned the Ganapati. The third quarter we mentioned Brahmanaspati. So that this idea, therefore we are speaking of the same one. Therefore, upshot of it is, he is the Lord of the mantras. Not only that, he is the Lord of several deities also. Mantra is not a single one. It has a huge number of complexity of the speech. It's very, very difficult to explain in a few words. Therefore, he is the Lord of all those deities also. Therefore, he is the Ganapati. So that is the answer to the question. Therefore, another important mantra comes in the first mandala, 40th sukta. Uttishta Brahmanaspate Devayantastu imahe. Uttishta, wake up Brahmanaspati. Wake up means he is in some sense within us, but in some sense he is not working as it were. Therefore, we want the Brahmanaspati power in us to wake up. Devayantastu imahe. Devayu means those seekers of the gods are seeking for you. Wake up. Uttishta Brahmanaspate Devayantastu imahe. Therefore, there are several mantras like this. We have to understand that all the ideas I am presenting here are not my own ideas. Basically, they are due to 3, shall we say, major, shall we say, they were savants, they were scholars. First one is Sri Aurobindo. He sort of, his life spans 1872 to 1950. And his collected works in English and is more than 36 volumes. And his works in Veda itself is about 3 volumes. He was the first person to point out the stress, shall we say, the symbolic interpretation of Veda. He was not the first person. That credit goes to the Yaska himself. Remember, our Vedas are not books on common, they are original texts. Therefore, it is in that sense we identify. So, our Sri Aurobindo has written a great chapter on how we have to identify Brihaspati, Brahmanaspati, and Brahma. It was Kapali Shastriya who added the idea that this same deity is also the elephant-faced Ganapati. The word elephant-faced comes very much in the Veda itself. It is called Mahahasti. Hasti means the trunk of the elephant. Therefore, whenever it is used, it is all because it can shape any skillful shape. It is called Hasta, is the hand. Therefore, Hasti. Therefore, whenever it is said Mahahasti. Same mantra we have so word Ganapati also. Mahahasti Ganapati. But that epithet is used for a mantra of Indra. Therefore, people say, as I told you earlier, there is no hard, shall we say, dividing line. Therefore, elephant faced. That is this idea. All we have is Mahahasti is the only epithet we have in the Veda to connect all of them. But the basic idea is there. For Ganapati, we use the word Vigna Nashana. Vigna is the obstacle. Nashana, who destroyed. We also call him a person who is not a master of the Vigna, can't destroy it. Therefore, we also call him Vigna Raja. clearly this epithet is not in the Veda, but it is there by all the great saints who have populated our music and that sort of thing. Yeah, that is the reason why in the later times this prayer is there. We have to understand why obstacles come to us at all. Obstacles are caused, we always blame the outside things for our problems. We have to ask from the inner side, that is the idea. Whenever we are clouded because of our 5-6 enemies, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, we lack the, shall we say, clarity, and we make wrong decisions and wrong acts. Therefore, so then we are faced with obstacle because of all. Therefore, the obstacles also make us have a learning mode also. If everything success does not teach us at all. Therefore, we pray to Ganapati, and remember, Ganapati is the Lord of the mantras. And what does mantra do? Mantra means manam trayate. It empowers the mind to set the things which are not all right in our subtle body to grow in the proper direction. That way, the vigna, the shall we say, a new road is found for us. See, when we go from the road, we can't trace back to the old road. That is the Vedic idea. From there, we have a goal, all right. Therefore, a new road is open to us. That is the reason why our the worship of the Ganapati became famous as the. So, he is, in some sense, he is not the Vigna Karaka. He doesn't do that. But Vigna comes to us because of our own psychological imperfections. Vakratunda Mahakala. Mahakaya. This is a very, very later composition. It is not at all old. It is not in the Brahmana, not in the Puranas. So much, much later. That is all we can say. The Vakratunda means one who has this trunk which is coiled. Because the trunk, the imagination is, Ganapati is so popular because whichever Ganapati temple you worship, you can imagine his trunk extending all the way from the temple to your own body and helping you. That is the advantage of the Vakratunda symbolism. And so we can. So when you say meditate on Vakratunda, we don't meditate on the trunk. We meditate on that great power by which the trunk can extend and bless you and all the people with its power and correct, as I told you, purification. Remove all the bad things in your subtle body and bless you with great. That is the idea of meditating on the Vakratunda. First of all, it is true, the great symbol Om is not in the Rig Veda itself. Its presence we notice in the Veda, basically. But when the power of the sound became prominent to all the people, then they asked among all the sounds, what is the most powerful sound, and that became the Om. And therefore Ganapati, when people understood he was the Lord of the sound and the mantras, and since his trunk could assume any shape, they could easily think of the shape as having the symbol Om. This is as simple an explanation as possible. Next question. Is it true Ganapati Homa is a tantric part of the Ganapati mantras of Veda? As we said earlier, there are Ganapati mantras of the Veda, that is true. Tantra, of course, we as a separate chapter in the Indian spiritual state is important, but it is not, as people imagine, completely separate. Therefore, for example, the mantras which the tantrics use for Ganapati Agni, they are also in the Rig Veda. A special single mantra Lam is used in Ganapati Homam. See, they are all what we call as the Bija mantras in Tantra. The great saints of the Tantra period, they felt in their intuition these basic sounds have a very powerful idea, and people who followed them felt that what they were saying was true. Therefore, this lam, for example, we have the 7 chakras are there, Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, and others. In the Muladhara, it is said, it is Agni, it is Ganapati who resides there. There we have the letter lam given there. Therefore, the answer to the question is, it is the insight of the particular group of teachers who presented this lam. For example, gum is used, for example, Atharva Shirsha. Lam is also used. So they are all powerful mystic symbols. So people are made. Long mantras sometimes are not easily, shall we say, people get away in thought. For example, you say, take a Gayatri mantra. So when you repeat it, it's 24 syllables. It is people have usually go away. Therefore, in these small mantras like lam, 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 go on. So there is no occasion for your mind to go away. Therefore, that is a justification for this so-called single syllable mantras. Om is the one, Om, I am is there, and for Devi we use a Kleem, and for Krishna also Kleem, Kleem, all of those different mantras are there. Lam is also one of the possibilities. Therefore, when you see the usual diagrams of the people, the 7 chakras, you see, Muladhara, Swadhisthana, so Yara, Lava would be there among them. La is one of them for Ganapati, the Muladhara. That is this question. Remember, our Veda goes back to at least 7,000 years. And the point was, Veda is a difficult book and very subtle. Therefore, we want it to be approached by common person's also. Therefore, the Puranas, which came some 2,000 or 3,000 years later, they developed the modern methods of converting them into small, easily understandable stories. Therefore, for them, Shiva and our Ganapati and our Subramanya or Kumara, they were portrayed as the children of Shiva and Parvati. That is this idea. Therefore, there is a lot of logic behind it, very deep ideas are there. So, Purana story may be there, but it can be grasped at a different levels also. For simple people, they are happy. When the gods have the family, and therefore they are happy. But more interested people will see what exactly sort of each god will do. We all of us know this well-known story. You see, therefore Parvati says there will be a special benefit for a person who goes around the world and comes back. And of course, since our Subramanya has the peacock as his Vahana, he goes. But the point is, meanwhile, our Ganapati encircles his parents. He says, you are the highest power, therefore there is no higher power, therefore he gets the result itself. So we have always, using the simple ideas, we have simple stories which tell them. So it is not the Ganapati as a son of Shiva and Parvati is not opposed to the Vedic idea. That is the point we have to understand. After all, there is a Veda. The Veda accepts the idea of a Purusha and the Prakriti. Therefore, clearly everything must come from them only. Therefore, Ganapati being therefore it speaks of the Father Heaven and the Mother Earth, They are called as the Java Prithvi. Therefore, it accepts it basically, except it doesn't use the word Shiva or Parvati and other things. Therefore, that is the contribution of the later sages. They said, why not we recognize? To make a subject familiar, we have to give a name for it. Therefore, Shiva is there, Parvati is there. Why do we call her Parvati? Because Parva, a mountain is called as a Parvata. So many ranges are there. Therefore, we can approach her in that way. So many levels are there. She is the Parvati, on this idea. For more details, our organization, SAKSI, Sri Aurobindo Kapali Shastra Institute of Vedic Culture, it has published a book in English called as Ganapati, Brahmanaspati and Kumara. It is a compact book of 100 pages only, and it gives all the whatever knowledge we have about Ganapati. There it gives the mantras along with the in Devanagari script, along with the Roman transliteration. Roman means English transliteration.